Hey everybody, welcome to Journey Through the Generations, back with another episode. You've probably already heard our first interview that Trisha did at RootsTech.
Yes.
If you haven't heard it, please go back and listen to it.
It's really good.
But this one was done with Sunny Morton, and some of you guys may have heard of her or may have worked with her. Mm-hmm. So Trisha, tell everybody a little bit about Sunny.
Sunny has her hand in a little bit of everything genealogy. She's one of the contributing editors for Family Tree magazine. She's a content manager for Your DNA Guide, and she's also a blogger for FamilySearch.org. So she does a lot of writing in the genealogy community.
So you have a lot of history with her. I don't. I've met her. I met her at the 2020 RootsTech, and then again this year. But just talk a little bit about your experience and history with her.
I first got to know Sunny through Lisa Louise Cook's Genealogy Gems. She worked there for a while, about 5 or 6 years ago. And I wrote into that show about a question that I had about my research, and she's the one who answered my question. And ever since then, when I emailed her back about how her advice helped my research, we've just been in email contact ever since then.
Yeah, and she's really nice.
Oh, she's super nice.
Really got a chance to talk with her a little bit before the interview started, and I really appreciate, how she's helped you with your research and answering your questions.
Yes, she is a phenomenal genealogist, and for her to be able to help me in the way she has over the past 4 or 5 years, it's just been fantastic. And she's been somewhat of a mentor for me, and she's just a great person altogether.
Yeah, so what we're going to do right now is play the interview that Trisha did at RootsTech. There'll be a lot of noise in the background because it was during the conference in the expo hall. But we hope you enjoy it, and we're going to play it now and come back after the interview and catch up with you guys. All right, here we go. Enjoy it.
Welcome to Journey Through the Generations. We're still here at RootsTech, and one of the great things about RootsTech is that you get to meet some of the people that you follow on social media and that you contact with on email. And today I get to sit down with Sunny Morton. Hi, Sunny. How are you doing?
Hi, Trisha. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. We've had the best interactions over the years, and it just makes me so happy to see you've come this far.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm just going to go and say I have a list of questions to ask you.
Okay.
But I want to say thank you for all your help throughout the years. I think it was maybe 5 years ago, I contacted Lisa Louise Cook with Genealogy Gems, and you worked with her then.
I did, yeah.
And you were the person who reached out to me to help answer my question and gave me some great advice about how to research my grandfather, Grandpa Booker, and the railroad. And that's kind of how we connected. And then I would send you emails periodically throughout the year when I found more information about him. And you would always respond back to me, and you always seemed so excited.
I was excited. You found good stuff.
And you were always so excited, and you would then give me even more help and more suggestions on new things that were out that I didn't know about to help me with my research. And that is something that I will always remember, because I was still a beginner then, and I think I need to do everything by myself, and I didn't really ask for help a lot. And the fact that you were so nice and so approachable, and you just kept helping me, and I just love it, and I just love you, and I think you're great.
Thank you, Trisha. Thank you for that story. It means so much. Like, I'm getting a little teary here. I think this is part of the wonderful thing about the genealogy community, is that it is a community. And you recognize when someone's coming in on fire trying to answer questions, you recognize what's driving them, and whatever it is, because somebody gave that to me, right? Someone delivered that for me a long time ago and pushed me forward, and so it's a joy. It is a real joy to push it forward.
Thank you so much, and you had such confidence in me, and you always encouraged me in everything I told you that I was doing when I started my blog. You thought that was great, and I started the podcast, and you said, "Oh my God, I think that's wonderful," and you were so excited, and that made me excited, thinking I could really do this. So thank you for everything that you've done.
Absolutely, you deserve all of those kudos because you've just done a great job.
Oh, thank you. So, okay, the interview for real.
Right.
So, how did you get started in family history?
I was in one of those families that instead of going to Disneyland during the summer, my mom would like drive us all over visiting all the relatives and going to cemeteries and, okay, we're here at a library, read this newspaper until you find this name. And I'm like, really, Mom? This is supposed to be my summer break. But, her mission was accomplished in that she hooked me. So I've always loved history. And I grew up visiting a lot of, historical sites and living history places where I could use my imagination and sort of find myself in a historical setting, right? And recreate that in my mind. And so it wasn't that big of a leap then to go to the genealogy part of it from there.
And not only are you a genealogist, but you are a professional. You have made this your career. So how did you transition from, going to cemeteries with your family and everything, and now this is what you do for a living?
So I have a degree in history and another degree in humanities, which was really more about the writing part of it. So those were my two core skill sets. And after I decided to take a break from the work world and then work from home after my second child was born. And so I started trying to do some freelance writing. And I got in touch with Family Tree magazine. I knew some genealogy skills, but mostly I was trained in history and writing. And so I began writing for them, and I realized I was in a community of people that I could really love. And awesome. This was a place for me. And I just started learning as much about genealogy as I could, as quickly as I could, go to conferences, go to institutes, read every book I could find by every professional, mark it all up, and just work, try. Like, okay, my husband, can I research your line? Can I research my friend's line? Can I research my line? What about you? Oh, you've got different ancestry than me. Can I try your line?
That's
right?
Awesome.
Whatever I could do to learn as quickly as I could. And that's really how I grew into this.
Okay.
And that's what I do. So I don't take research clients.
Right.
I teach. And so I'll teach at Family Tree University. I teach through Family Tree Magazine. I do a lot of articles and content development at Your DNA Guide. So that's where, and there's so many, what I love about the genealogy community is there's so many different ways you can go professionally.
Yes.
There's a need for all of it. And I love to teach. Okay. I love to inspire. I love to see people's eyes light up and give them that moment where they're going to go make their next discovery.
And that's the important part. And as the teacher, we're here at RootsTech, and you had a session, I think it was yesterday, about boring statistics making great stories.
Yes. So how to turn boring statistics into great stories. So I developed this lecture primarily for people who aren't natural storytellers. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of great researchers in our communities who can't tell a story to save their lives, right? And it's a shame because all of the great stories that they know, they can't articulate in a way that makes their family as excited as they are. Yeah. So it was really about, let's turn the document discovery into a sentence. Mm-hmm. And then, but even when you string together lots of sentences, that doesn't necessarily make a great story. So you have to learn to, once you string together all those sentences, which are basically transcriptions of what you learned from the documents, watch for the interesting parts. Watch for some themes that emerge over time. Oh, this guy was really proud of his career because it comes up over and over again. Or, oh, this guy, so you kind of see that change, over time is, oh, he lived most of his life along in this one little tiny area. And then you watch for potential story building blocks. Right. Who are characters that you could develop more as interesting people? What are these moments of change or transition? Or what kinds of things stayed the same over time? What kind of storyline do you see shaping up? What's the beginning and the middle and the end of the story? And what is it about this person's life that draws you to them? What makes them so interesting to you? And as you pull out those little bits, some of those can drive you into new avenues, like the railroad records that we talked about long ago that gave you such insight into your family. So occupational records especially, any local, I used a family that the example was he was a fireman locally. as I built his story, but he also attended a church that just backed up to his house. He was that close to his church. Like his family sold off the back of their property to the church to help them build the convent. And so there's this whole storyline with the church, and I got records from the church, and the stories of the church. And the kids I found newspaper articles, the kids went to the parish school. Right, and so you build this story over time. It was a Slovakian church. It was a Slovakian fire department. And he played on a Slovakian baseball team that I found in the newspapers. And so you get this sense of strong Slovakian American identity, as well as these neighborhood stories and these pictures that come. So that as you start to put together those sentences that you transcribe out of the records, you pull in other things like the newspapers or anything else you can learn from these other records that really make for a more compelling story.
Okay. When people, I know myself included, when people think about starting writing,
yes,
do you suggest starting out with short stories to be able to help them get started instead of trying to think they need to write a whole book like Roots or something?
No, they don't need to write a whole book, and that's so intimidating that you'll never do it. I think it's a lot better idea. I loved your blog. I loved reading the entries. I loved just write the short piece of the thing you found and get it out there. You found this one bit, this was super cool, get it out there, publish it, share it, and now that piece is done. And maybe you go back eventually and compile some of those in a book, and maybe you never make it to the book phase, but it's still out there.
Right.
So to me, it's more important to put together those little pieces as you find them that you're excited about and share them.
So what's your favorite part of RootsTech?
The people. It's all about the people. It's about meeting new people whose eyes light up at the same things mine light up. More than, I go back home and people just look at me and they're like, Sonny, how are we friends?
How do we do this?
I remember when the movie Civil War came out a couple years ago, the Marvel movie, and my son mentioned it. He's like, I'm going to go see Civil War. I'm like, a new documentary. That's great. And he's like, Mom, shaking his head, right? But here I'm among my peeps, and they get that. Some of them would have thought the same thing. And they would have been excited about a Civil War documentary.
Yes,
right?
It would have been exciting.
Yes.
So how many RootsTechs have you been to?
Oh, I don't even know. I've been coming for years and years.
Years and years?
Yes, I have.
Were you at the first one?
I was not at the very first one, but it wasn't much longer after that.
The first one today, so
okay. Yeah, I wasn't at the very first one, but not too far after that, I started coming. Working with Lisa Louise Cook, who's lovely and taught me so much of what I do today. And then moving on with Family Tree Magazine and your DNA Guide.
So tell me a little bit more about your DNA Guide.
Okay, so I work for Diane Southard at Your DNA Guide, and it's really our company mission to help people feel more connected to their identity, and then make those connections to their communities and their families through their DNA. So you look at the lens of your DNA and what can it tell me about myself and my recent roots and my deeper roots, and because people have a lot of questions I think that they sometimes haven't even fully articulated, and they don't really realize how DNA can help them answer those questions.
It seems like it's very overwhelming when you get your results and you look at it for the first time, say at an Ancestry or 23andMe.
Yes.
It can be, overwhelming, and where do I start? And then you see all these names.
Yes, I agree with you. And so what Diane has been doing, so she's been teaching this, she worked at the very first genealogy database, the Sorensen Molecular Genealogy Foundation. And so she's been in that industry the whole time. And she's a natural teacher. So she watches for what are the pain points. And the pain points are things like, I logged into my results and I'm disappointed because I don't understand what I'm seeing. Or I'm logged in, and none of it makes any sense to me, or my ethnicity results changed and now I don't trust them.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to be done with all of this. It's a hoax. And so to her, that made her really sad because all they needed was a little bit more information, and then they could have been really excited about what they learned. Actually, your results just got better and more specific, and that one country of origin has now gone to a much more specific kind of origin, and over time, just keep logging in because it's going to keep changing that ethnicity and getting better, more accurate, right? More specific. So it's those kinds of things that can turn around your entire DNA experience and say, and then did you know you could use your match list to help find that grandfather you can't figure out who it is after all these years?
Right.
Right? Or will at least give you more evidence to help you make these connections on your tree. So that's what we do over at Your DNA Guide.
That sounds awesome, because I've tested, and I'm one of those that it just seems so overwhelming, and then I actually enjoy going to the library and look at census records, so I focus on that, and then I just left my DNA to the side. So maybe I'll pick that up. And
all right. Well, let
that.
me know. You know where to find me.
I know where to find you. I thank you so much for sitting down with us.
This has been a true pleasure. Like one of the best surprises of RootsTech.
Will you tell my listeners where they can find you?
My website is sunnymorton.com if you want to learn a little bit more about me, but you can just come over to Your DNA Guide and find me over there too.
Okay, well, thank you so
All right.
much.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed that interview. It went really well. Trisha, what was your experience like interviewing Sunny?
Talking with Sunny, it was just like a little bit of it was like going down memory lane, because she's literally been with me for the last 5 or 6 years of this research. So she was there when I first started my blog, when I started the podcast. So she literally has seen my research from the beginning till now. So it was really nice to talk to her, get her opinion on a few things. I attended her class, one of her classes that she had at RootsTech, and it was really good. And I just appreciate her and all of her help throughout the years, but especially being able to sit down with me during a busy conference like that for her was really special to me, and I will always remember it and be thankful that she took the time to talk with me.
Yeah, it's always good to have a person in your circle, your fan club that we've talked about in the past. As someone who you can go to if you have questions or you're frustrated about something, which in doing genealogy, you're going to run into plenty of those times.
Absolutely.
It's important to have someone on your side that can help you either think about new things or point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and she has her hand in so many different things and communities within the genealogy community. So she's very knowledgeable of new record sets that are out, new databases and things like that. So she is always a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, so we appreciate you guys for listening. All of Sunny Morton's information can be found in the episode description down below, and along with ours.
Right.
And so you'll be able to reach out to Sunny and follow her on her social media channels. I think that'll be about it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys.